Good evening, fellow Area11 Toastmasters, visiting Toastmasters, and social media guests. Welcome to the first ever Toastmasters all-stream meeting. As many of you know, we are having a modified Toastmasters meeting live streamed on District 37 Facebook group. We are very excited that you are part of this inaugural event. A few notes. We are trying to follow a standard Toastmasters meeting format with a few subtle differences. Toastmasters meetings are often small, currently run in Zoom, and previously in person, not live streamed. There is a small change to our agenda tonight, as there could be in a regular Toastmasters meeting, and unfortunately our presiding officer will not be able to make it. That's why I'm welcoming you tonight. Without further ado, we'll get this meeting started. Please join me in welcoming Area 25 Director, the gentleman handling Thought of the Day role, Mr. Ray Ledford.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I will first give our thought of the day. And when I do thoughts of the day, my first attention goes to my favorite author, William Shakespeare. And when I go to my favorite author of William Shakespeare, I go to my favorite quote. And that comes from The Merchant of Venice. And that quote is, "With mirth and laughter, let old wrinkles come." And that simply means enjoy, laugh, have a great time. And I hope every one of you takes that to heart and smiles with each day that passes. With my thought of the day, that leads me to our meeting, and I will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I hope everyone can see the flag, as I will now lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're on mute, you may put your hand on your heart, take your hats off if you're wearing your hat indoors, as we now say our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, and I now will introduce our Toastmaster for this evening. Our Toastmaster for tonight is going to be Mr. Jim Lyles. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Jim Lyles.
Thank you, Ray. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. As Toastmaster of the day, my role is to act as Master of Ceremonies. I will introduce roles and speakers, and I'll try to add a few interesting facts along the way. If you told me 3 years ago I would be MC of anything, I would have strongly disagreed. I, like many others, suffer from a fear of public speaking. We usually have a theme for our meetings to add a little fun. The theme for our meeting tonight is, what is Toastmasters? Now, if you joined, maybe you're thinking, are these people really celebrating the fact that they have mastered the simplest kitchen appliance ever invented? Actually, Toastmasters is a nonprofit educational organization to promote communication, public speaking, and leadership. In our meetings, we develop and practice our skills in public speaking in an inclusive and supportive environment. You can go to toastmasters.org to find out all about the history. There at the top of the page, you can click Find a Club, enter your location, and see a list of clubs that you can visit. If you have the skills to build a flux capacitor, but you find it harder to stand in front of a group and give a presentation about it, Toastmasters can help you. If you can cook an amazing gourmet dinner, but you find it harder to describe that dinner to people than to actually prepare the meal, Toastmasters can help you. If you need help with presentation skills to advance your career, Toastmasters can help you. This is the reason I sought out and joined Toastmasters. A typical Toastmaster meeting has 3 areas of focus. Table topics help us to build our impromptu speaking skills. Prepared speeches, where we give a prepared and timed speech in front of our club. These speeches are often aligned with a path we're working on. And then evaluations, where we give and receive positive impact and tips on how we can improve. At this time, I'll introduce those helping us with roles tonight and ask them to explain their roles. We would normally applaud each other as we're introduced and after we speak. While meeting virtually, we have adopted this universal sign for applause. With a dual role as grammarian and counter, please welcome DeFonso Nathan.
Hi, DeFonso. You've fallen off mute.
Sorry about that. The grammarian's duties tonight will be to monitor language and grammar usage of tonight's speaker. I'll also be noting incorrect sentences, mispronunciations, and grammatical mistakes. I also will be monitoring the use of the word of today, which is iteration. And it means the repetition of a process in order to generate an outcome. A sample sentence of this is, it was easy to learn the chorus because of the iteration in the song. And at the end of the meeting, I'll be giving a grammatical report on call. And I'm also tonight's all counter, where I'll be listening to the meaning for such filler words such as and, well, but, so. And I'll be giving a report on that as well. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, DeFonso. Our timer tonight, please welcome Phyllis Comball.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with you. In this iteration of our Toastmasters meeting, we're going to be paying attention to how long everyone speaks. We all want things to finish when they're supposed to. When our main speakers reach 4 minutes, the minimum of their time tonight, they'll see my background change to this, at 5 minutes to this, and at 6 minutes to this. In our typical Toastmaster fashion, you have 30 seconds leeway on either side. We'll do the same kind of timing for our evaluators. Those who evaluate our speakers will see this at 2 minutes, this at 2.5, and this at 3 minutes. Then when we get to our table topics, where we get our impromptu, we're going to be speaking for 1 minute to 2 minutes. 1 minute, you'll see this 1.5 and 2 minutes here. Again, 30 seconds either side, although for table topics, we always ask you to try really hard to get to the full minute. Of course, I'll be reporting back near the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phyllis. Here to explain his role as Table Topics Master and to lead us through this portion of our meeting, please welcome Al Mentor.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As our Toastmaster mentioned, this is the part of our program where we exercise our impromptu speaking skills. As you know, often in the workplace, community, family, we're often called upon to speak off the cuff, which seems to be a daily iteration. In addition to impromptu speaking skills development, we're learn how to respond with a structured and a meaningful response as well. So our first topic for table topics this evening is if you're on a FaceTime session with family, a relative will ask you if you could go back in time to an age and a fun situation, what age and fun situation would it be? Nicole.
Thank you very much, Table Topic Master. If I could go back to an age and time, and specifically a fun age, I would probably actually say my college days. That was my first time leaving home. And although it was scary, I was the kid who cried when I first left because I'd never been away from home. As much as I wanted to be away, I was the kid who cried. But once I got away, it was my first time being around so many different people. I grew up in Oklahoma, which was pretty culturally not very savvy, if you will. And I went to New York for school. And initially it was a culture shock. But at the same time, it was the most amazing experience I've ever had of being around different environment. Oklahoma's pretty flat. And New York was just beautiful. It was cold. I will never forget my first winter storm. In Oklahoma, we get just a dash of snow and the whole place shuts down. So I will never forget, I looked outside my dorm room and there were like feet of snow and I just knew class was canceled. And it wasn't. And I was mortified that I was expected to walk in feet of snow to go to class. So times have changed. I do miss that part because in New York and places like that, they don't care about feet of snow. So if I could go back, I would actually choose my college days because I had a great time. It was my first time opening up who I am and learning so much about myself and life. Thank you very much, Table Topic Master. Back to you.
Thank you, Nicole. I spent 17 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know what you mean. The next table topic. Your manager calls you to inform you that he or she has promoted you to a role that you've always wanted. How do you respond to that? Brenda?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. If my manager called me and told me I'd finally gotten a role that I have always wanted, I would be so happy. Obviously, I'm going to thank them profusely for that opportunity for me to iterate my career, to grow and to change, and to become a totally new me in a new and challenging role. Not only going to thank them, I'm going to sit down and talk to them about what exactly they foresee me doing in this new role. I want to know what their expectations are so that I can do everything that I can do to meet them. I'm not only going to thank my manager for this fantastic new opportunity and talk to them about their expectations, but I'm also going to be talking to the people that I'm going to be working with to find out what their expectations of me are in this new role. I'm going to prepare as much as possible and give it all I've got to do the best job I can in this new possibility. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Brenda. Our next and last table topic. You're working with a group of 10-year-old kids on a field trip. One of them asked you, what advice could you give them about growing up? You're working with a group of 10-year-old kids on a field trip. One of them asked you, what advice could you give them about growing up? Ray.
Gather around, kids. Do I have some lessons for you? First thing, Why do you come to me? I get it. I understand. I understand. I have the mentality of a 10-year-old. I mean, I'm hanging out with you guys. We're playing. That's why you came to me for advice. You think that I'm the adult in the place. I understand. So let me give you Ray's advice on how to grow up. Step 1, eat your vegetables. No, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's the responsible thing to do. I apologize, kids. Let's do the raise it pro. No, wait. The parents are watching. We got to stick to the responsible things. So we got to do this. Step 1, eat your vegetables, kids. Step 2, stay in school. Make sure you go to college because you're going to need that education. Step 3, make sure that you stay focused and make sure that you do well with whatever you're doing, whether it be your job, whether it be school. Don't argue back with your parents. Step D, wait a minute, did I just do letters and numbers? Oh, the parents are watching. I'm failing, aren't I? I don't know what I'm doing anymore, kids. Are we playing sports again? Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ray. Let's give a round of applause for all 3 of our contestants, Nicole, Brenda, and Ray. And we'll hand it back over to our Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Al, and thank you, Nicole, Brenda, and Ray. The National Social Anxiety Center states 73% of the population has a fear of public speaking. Fear of public speaking is the most common phobia ahead of spiders, heights, and even death. Fear of public speaking does not have to be worse than the fear of death. I'm here to assure you, Toastmasters has helped me with public speaking. If I can do this, you certainly can too. The next iteration of our meeting is our prepared speeches. Our first speaker, Wei Yao, distinguished Toastmaster, has been in Toastmasters for almost 6 years. Yet this does not mean she considers herself a polished speaker by any means, as she took a more than 2-year hiatus of giving speeches while she focused on developing leadership experience behind the scenes. Just starting a new path, effective coaching with this speech, Wei is hoping for others to get to know her, as well as using this opportunity to work on her rusty public speaking. Please help me welcome Wei as she presents her icebreaker speech, Who I Am.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What defines you? Your hobbies, interests, your family and friends, your culture or background? The list can go on. To simplify things, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and all the honored guests we have tonight, I'm going to talk about how my background defines who I am today. Like a lot of Charlotteans, I'm what one would call a transplant. Someone who was not originally from a particular area, but then they moved to that area later on in their life. I was born in Hong Kong, back when it was still a British colony, and I spent my childhood days there. Because my mom was worried about my future and how hard it is to get a job even with a college degree, my parents and I immigrated to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2001, 4 weeks before 9/11. That was good timing. And my mom was right. Over the years, I've seen in the news of how hard it is for a college grad in Hong Kong to even get a decent paying job, let alone being able to ever afford their own place. Because of that, I'm grateful for what I have today, every single day, and I would not take anything I have for granted. Also, living in Charlotte has a tremendous impact to my values and how I live my life today. First, because Charlotte was and still is a much smaller place than in Hong Kong, things are at a slower pace here, which I grew accustomed to and fell in love with. Of course, that's after all the cultural shock that I have at the beginning, when I thought I landed in a rural village. Nowadays, I just love taking things just at their own pace, and I don't want to rush things if that means I can do something right. Second, because Charlotte is a smaller place and I live on the outskirts of town even today, the only way to get anywhere is through driving. Because today, there is still no public transportation within a safe walking distance where I live. Because of that, I grew to love driving as it symbolizes freedom to me. Because with driving, I can go to where I want to when I want to. Nowadays, I just love to drive to somewhere, even just getting to see other places without even getting to a destination sometimes. Sometimes I just love the feeling of just knowing how to get to somewhere in multiple ways. And I get to check out all these little shortcuts. I also love traveling and taking road trips in different cities or different countries because that's the only way I feel like I can truly explore a place and I have the freedom to do so. Third, my parents didn't really receive an education, and the stereotype of only an Asian restaurant or any Asian businesses just didn't materialize because we were also some of the poor Asian immigrants. What instead happened was that for many years, my parents had to work 10 to 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week, because they couldn't find a place to have regular work hours because they didn't really speak English. They did all of that so that we could afford to live in our own place and that I didn't have to worry about anything but going to school. And that I could actually start driving at the age of 16, which I consider very lucky. For that, I always feel in debt to my parents. To attempt to make up for some of that, I decided that after college and after I started my first job, I would start supporting them so that they can go into retirement when they wanted to, and their health wasn't doing so great either. For many years, they have been retired, which I was and am very relieved about. As you have just heard, my background shapes who I am today, giving me values and the ways I choose to live my life today. As Jessica Andrews' song with the same title as my speech said, is all part of me, and that's who I am. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Wei. Madam Timer, please give us 1 minute to offer feedback for Wei in the chat. Thank you. Our next speaker, Sunny, joined Goldmine Toastmasters and subsequently joined Yon Patrol Zone, People Growing Together, and Eat Your Words Toastmasters Clubs. Sunny is a distinguished Toastmaster and he highly recommends these clubs. Speaking tonight on missed opportunity, please welcome Sonny Tolbert.
Mic check. Can you hear me? All right. Okay, good. Occasionally, I think about things that happened in my past, things that had I done differently would have changed my life for the better today. I'm not talking about a regret. I'm talking about something that maybe I could do today that would make my life better tomorrow. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, in 1990, I joined Deloitte Consulting. And when I did, there's a young man who was my colleague named John. John and I had some traits that were similar. Both of us were technical consultants. Both of us had a terrible fear of public speaking. In 1990, John joined Goldmine Toastmasters. In 3 years, he had won speaking contests, become a better leader, better speaker, better listener, better communicator. I could see him giving more and more presentations. And in 1993, he jumped to his dream job, an instructor at a software firm, presenting to hundreds of people in all those various classes. In 1993, I had done nothing. I was still afraid to present and speak in public. Fast forward to 2001, I lost my job again, and the tech wreck, and that specifically after 9/11. I was unemployed for 3 years. Even then, I thought about joining Goldmine Toastmasters, but I was afraid. I looked it up and I started to go and I said, I'm scared to stand in front of people and speak. Plus I had smaller children doing things on Saturday mornings. I had every excuse in the world not to go, and I followed those excuses rather than doing what I knew I needed to do, even 11 years later after I heard about it. Fast forward to 2004, I was rehired by Deloitte. They retrained me until 2008. Does anybody remember that? The financial crisis? It seems like a blip now, but it was huge. Our country almost went bankrupt. I could feel that dragon breathing down my neck. I knew I was about to get laid off again. In 2008, 18 years after I had heard about Goldmine Toastmasters, I finally joined. Since then, I've been a contractor, and joining Toastmasters has helped me tremendously in each step of my path for my contracting career. Today, I create a lot of communication guides. I speak and present all the time. I have mostly overcome this fear. This is one of those things where I'm not sure everybody overcomes it or you can really overcome it. You always feel those butterflies in your stomach. But at the same time, we think those butterflies can be excitement, or we can think they can be fear. It just depends on how you interpret it. The thing is, my biggest missed opportunity in life, I think, was not joining Goldmine Toastmasters when I first heard about it. I encourage each of you to think about coming and visiting one of our clubs. Eat Your Words, Goldmine, Yawn Patrol Zone, and People Growing Together. All of those are fine clubs. And as our Toastmaster presented earlier, if you don't like any of those, go to toastmasters.org and find one close to you. But since we can all Zoom in, you can Zoom anywhere in the world. If you speak a foreign language, Spanish, Russian, you can go to one of those countries and join one of those clubs. We're all very friendly and helpful in a very social environment. Don't let this be your missed opportunity. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sonny. Madam Timer, please give 1 minute for us to offer feedback for Sonny in the chat. Thank you, Madam Timer. This is a point in our meeting where we would typically take a break to grab coffee and socialize. Our timer keeps us on track in our meetings and helps us to stay on time. The next iteration of our meeting, the evaluation section, gives us an opportunity to grow and improve. As I said earlier, Toastmasters has helped me. Toastmasters can help you also. I pushed myself outside of my comfort zone, and as a result, I've grown. I urge you to visit toastmasters.org. As Sunny indicated, click Find a Club at the top of the page, enter your location and see a local club or visit a club around the world. Many meetings are online now. Guests are always welcome. As a guest, you can choose to participate or you can just observe. Your presence is welcome either way. We would love to have you visit any of the 4 clubs sponsoring this event tonight: Eat Your Words, Gold Mine, People Growing Together, and Yawn Patrol. I can promise 2 things. You will improve your public speaking skills, and you will meet some very supportive people along the way. Come to think of it, I am pretty good with this thing. And I have some local North Carolina jam. I think I'll practice those other Toastmaster skills later. At this time, please welcome our General Evaluator, Adrian Marble.
Thank you, Jim. As a General Evaluator, I have 2 roles today. First is to introduce our 2 amazing speakers who will be providing live feedback to our 2 speakers. The second part of my role is to give a general evaluation, which comes from the name of General Evaluator, of the meeting as a whole, which I'll do after the 2 evaluations. First, evaluating our speaker 1, Way, will be Steve Eanes. Please welcome Steve.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, and especially Way. Way, thank you very much for sharing tonight on your speech, The Icebreaker in the Effective Coaching Pathway. Now, we have something interesting for our guests because the Icebreaker speech is your first iteration of speaking in Toastmasters. And now in our new format, it's your first speech on the pathway. So when evaluating the Icebreaker speech, first of all, we're very happy that the person actually got up and said something. Now, you heard in Way's introduction that she is a distinguished Toastmaster, a DTM. So that means she has completed the entire Toastmasters program. So she is by far a very experienced speaker. What I will do tonight is evaluate your speech, Way, in the format we normally do on an Icebreaker speech. First of all, I think you started fantastic with a great question. What defines you? And you pointed to the camera when you said that. That was very effective, and I think it drew everyone in because you actually had some hand motions that grabbed our attention. And then you did something that I've never personally heard anyone do. You talked about how you came to the United States, a little bit about your life in Hong Kong, and compared it to your life in the United States. That's compared to my Icebreaker speech, which was just boring, saying I was born here and I grew up here and I did this here. So I appreciate that variety in what you shared. Now, you revealed a little bit about your age, probably by saying when Hong Kong was still a British colony, but that's okay. I think overall, though, you had great command of the Zoom meeting while you were speaking because you were right in the center of the camera. You had some hand motions periodically, although you might have been doing some that were below the camera that we didn't see as far as that goes. And then one thing that I noticed as well is you followed a great progression with 3 points talking about life in America. And I thought it was pretty humorous that you talked about Charlotte being a rural village compared to Hong Kong, because those of us that live in Charlotte think it's huge. But I guess compared to Hong Kong, it's not really that big. And then one thing I would like to maybe have a couple of suggestions here is maybe share what your career path you have chosen is, because we didn't catch that because I thought that was something I was interested in hearing. And then also, because you're an experienced Toastmaster, when you were talking about the author, You said, same title as my speech said. And I'm not sure that that's the best English in the world, but you know what? We knew what you said. And the fact that you got up and actually spoke at the meeting, very happy about that. The last thing I will say that's related to your speech is I admire you greatly for what you've done for your parents, because they sacrificed a lot for you, as you shared, and I'm sure you've done a lot for them in return. So I really appreciate you sharing tonight, and I look forward to hearing many more great speeches from you, Wei. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Steve. Next, evaluating speaker 2, Sunny, will be Alan Georges. Please welcome Alan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sunny, I'm so happy that I get to evaluate you, sir. Missed opportunities. What a great title and what a great speech you gave. So first off, your speech gradually progressed. It told a connected story, and every example that you gave connected back to your title, Missed Opportunities. I really felt that missed opportunity when you talked about your coworker, John, right? You talked about him almost being at the same level as you. And all of a sudden, within 3 years, 1993, he's in this new position, he's speaking, he's doing all these things, and you missed that opportunity. It made me reflect personally how many missed opportunities I missed, right? So, Sunny, you had great eye contact throughout your speech, great hand gestures, great stage presence, and you're on a Zoom meeting. I mean, that was awesome. You're standing at the Zoom, you're centered, but I can see that you have full command of your space. You're in your home, you're in your office most likely, but I felt like I was in a room with you and you were commanding my attention with these missed opportunities, and you were really landing those things. Another thing that was very interesting about your speech is how transparent you were. A lot of people don't like to talk about their fears or when someone else outshines them or how many opportunities they missed because of fear. At the bottom line, fear, right? But you showed that. You showed us a piece of yourself that I appreciated. And I'm going to continue to challenge myself so that I don't even have any missed opportunities. And I think our guests are probably going to feel the same way. A few opportunities for growth, right, Sunny? So you have that awesome office and you were standing, and I noticed that you had the stage presence, but what I think you should do is you start off from the back, and as you get deeper and deeper into the story, gradually get closer to the camera, because I'm already pulled into your story, right? It's already connected to your title. So go ahead and use that stage presence and kind of gradually get closer to the camera, get larger into the camera. I would really appreciate that. And then the second thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you can control this, but maybe you can take a look at your connectivity. There was some lagging in your connectivity, right? So maybe test your device inside of your office in different areas so that when you're presenting the next time, you minimize the disruption. You continue throughout your speech. I caught the entire speech, but there were moments there where there was disconnection. But outside of that, great, awesome job. And I am continually challenged to not miss any opportunities within Toastmasters. Adrian?
Thank you, Alan. Great job, everyone. I'm now going to give my general evaluation of the meeting as a whole. First, I would love to say we started on time, which is one thing that we pride ourselves on as Toastmasters, starting and ending our meetings on time. And it looks like we'll end on time as well today. Another item is, being virtual, it gives you a total different feel, right? But we have created these virtual claps. And it's been fun to actually even do this. If you're out there and you're listening to us, you can do it too. It's really fun just in general. But it also gives us encouragement as a team because, we call ourselves a club, but we're really a team who's supporting one another. And through virtual claps or physical claps, if we're in the room together, we do it all the time. And some people think that it's excessive that we do it, but it's really a way to encourage people as they're getting up to speak and as they're sitting down. And I think that we did it really well today. It wasn't that wave effect of one person doing it, then a couple seconds, another person doing it, and then you see this wave on your screen of people, doing our virtual clap. So great job there. As far as our meeting roles and that everyone presented in the beginning, I thought you all did a great job. Ray, thank you for a great thought of the day. It was very thorough, and I really enjoyed it. Also, for our table topics, we had amazing table topic speakers, very seasoned folks, and and Al, you did an amazing job with your table topics. I was wondering where you were going to go with a couple of them as you were explaining them, but really great job with your table topics. As far as our evaluators are concerned, I am really impressed. I have never heard Steve evaluate before, but I thank you so much, Steve, for introducing what an icebreaker was before going into your evaluation. Because as visitors, if we have visitors on, they don't know what an icebreaker means in the world of Toastmasters. So it's great that you gave that before you entered into your evaluation. Also, you're a great listener. You found specific words and phrases that Wei said. You gave great feedback from the standpoint of not only just being an evaluator, but an audience member, because you were like, this is something that I would like to hear. And if Wei was giving this speech to a group of 100 or so people, that's great feedback to give, because her next speech, she can implement that into her speech. Alan, amazing job. I always enjoy your evaluations. Some of you don't know, but about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we had a webinar on giving evaluations. And essentially, what Alan did here today is take all of those tools from that webinar, and he used those today. And you did an amazing job. And you even gave feeling into Sunny's speech, where you said, it caused me to reflect. You presented feedback that I wouldn't even have thought of. How he stood in the room, his connectivity, things that he could change next time he gives his speech. And you felt that speech, and you had lessons learned from you personally, similar to what Steve did. This is what I learned from your speech. This is what I would have liked from the speech. And that's what evaluations are about. And as we learned in the webinar from last week, it's really about one person's humble opinion of someone's speech. And both of you did an amazing job at that. And that's essentially my general evaluation of the meeting. At this point, I will ask Madam Timer, could you provide us with the times of our speeches and our evaluators for tonight?
Absolutely. This is always a test in these iterations of the live stream meeting, of trying to stay focused and get the timing and get the signals out there. I had our table topics responses, Nicole, 1:37, Brenda, 1:35, and Ray, 1:40. So all right there in the range we want them to be. Our speakers were to speak for 4 to 6 minutes, and Sunny did 4 minutes, 16 seconds. Wade did 5 minutes, 5 seconds. So again, both of them right there in the middle of the range where they're supposed to be. Our evaluators were supposed to speak for 2 to 3 minutes. That's interesting because they have some guidance. It's a little bit of a prepared speech, but it's really done on the fly. And each of them came in right in that 3 minutes and 5, 3 minutes and 7 seconds, right on the money. In one of my clubs, we also timed the general evaluator. We asked the general evaluator to speak for 3 to 5 minutes. And you know what, Adrian, you just were on the ball with that too. You were at 3 minutes and 47 seconds. You got it, man. Nice to be here. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Phyllis. Next up, I would like to invite our grammarian eye counter to give his report. DeFonso.
Thank you, Adrian. I want to congratulate these individuals for using our word of the day. Phyllis, twice, good job. Al, Brenda, Jim, twice, great on that, and Steve. In terms of our grammarian report, I want to say the speakers did a great job, didn't really pick out anything out of the way, just a few things. Nicole, in her speech, she said, in feet of snow. I probably would have went with in several feet of snow. and Ray went with argue back. In one of his phrases, he probably meant argue with. And Ray, she said, and am, and I think she probably meant and I. And that was the only grammatical mistakes I picked up for the day. I did have some some phrases that I liked. Ray said, "You think I'm the adult?" And loved that in his speech. And Sonny had a catchy phrase, "I could feel the dragon's heat down my back." Love that. I'm going to switch to my all-con report. Most everybody tonight used the word "and," so I'm not going to single anyone out for that. Alon used "so" once, Adrian used "so" 3 times. Other than that, everybody else was on point, and everybody did a great job. Mr. Value.
Thank you, DeFonso. Great feedback. I appreciate it. My last duty is to hand it over to our presiding officer for tonight, who is Gail Pum. Please welcome back, Gail.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. First duty as presiding officer, I will invite guests to comment on the meeting. You live stream guests, please leave us comments out there virtually. We love to hear from you, as we did as the show was going on. Now, we don't have many in this particular meeting, but do we have a guest that would like to comment within our Zoom meeting? I see we have someone join. No worries. We don't need any comments. We'll follow up for comments on the Facebook live stream. Wow, Toastmasters, audience out there, our first iteration of a live stream event. Myself, I embrace the growth mindset, as I would guess most of our Toastmasters do. And I'll share with you, you never know what you don't know. We ran through a few rehearsals, including technical, because there are a few gadgets I have hooked up to stream this. And I was not expecting our chat in Zoom that is not currently shared to provide a little blurb that popped up at the bottom of the screen. So you may have appreciated some of our internal Zoom chat if you noticed that. Now, tonight, this demo meeting was brought to you by the 4 distinguished clubs of Area 11. I can imagine after such an auspicious event, your interest is piqued. I have just shared in the comments a little promo link for our 4 distinguished clubs. There is People Growing Together, Yawn Patrol Zone, Eat Your Words Toastmasters, and Goldmine. That promo provides a link to each one. Guests can visit for free. You'll find the meeting dates on their site from the links to the specific clubs. Some clubs meet weekly, some bi-weekly, or even once a month. So you'll find an option that works for you. Or, as our Toastmaster of the meeting mentioned, please at any time go to toastmasters.org as well, and you may find a club that's closer in your area. Or if you speak another language, go international while we are in this virtual world. It is now time for the thank yous. I so wish Becca was here. A great meeting is pulled together by a great leader. And we executed with excellence today, and that is a testimonial to Becca Davidson's leadership. As well, an event like this takes a village, and our Toastmasters village came together. I want to send a special thanks to all our Toastmaster volunteers who came together today to provide you with this event. Make it easy for you to get a glimpse into what happens behind the scenes at that Toastmasters. And no, we don't have that toaster Jim was showing at our live meeting events. So again, I thank you all for visiting today. I hope you got a little snippet into what a Toastmasters meeting looks like. And we welcome you to join. Most meetings are held virtually now on Zoom, not live stream, in the privacy of that small virtual Zoom room. As we are coming to our close, thank you for watching and have a lovely evening. Area 11 signing off.